Nebraska is now in session. The Honorable Timothy J. Mahoney presiding.
Good afternoon. Please be seated. We're here this afternoon in the Chapter 13 case of Karen J. Anthony, bankruptcy 11-42232. Today's hearing is a final hearing on a motion for relief from stay filed by creditor Cattle National Bank and Trust Co. The debtor has objected. We had a preliminary hearing in this matter a couple of weeks ago, and Ms. Anthony requested at that time that I not admit the affidavit of Brian Lavelle because she thought she had a right to examine Mr. Lavelle, and after consideration after the hearing I decided she was correct, and so that's why we scheduled this. Nonetheless, we're going to proceed, and I'll take appearances in just a moment. We're going to proceed as if we were starting over. All the exhibits are in that were offered before, but Mr. Guthrie, you have the opportunity, if you desire, to call whatever witness you want, and then Ms. Anthony will have the opportunity to cross-examine and or call her own witnesses. So, first appearance on behalf of the bank.
Your Honor, please enter the appearance of John Guthrie on behalf of creditor Cattle National Bank.
Thank you. And Ms. Anthony, you still represent yourself, is that correct? Thank you. As we proceed, first of all, I have to remind you, please pull the microphone down so it's close to your face so that we can get your voice over the system. We're going to proceed with Mr. Guthrie probably calling witnesses. If you are called as a witness, please come forward to the court reporter who sits to my left and swear or affirm that you will tell the truth. Then take a seat in the witness chair over there in the box. You'll notice that we have monitors both on the counsel table and on the witness table, and those monitors are where we will review any documents that need to be looked at. And Mr. Guthrie and Ms. Anthony, either one of you, if you have a document that you want to be brought up on the screen, please just give the file number to Lori, who's sitting over there at the control panel, and she'll call it up and put it on the screen. As we go through this afternoon, witnesses are requested to answer yes or no to yes or no answers. Or doesn't do the trick, and shaking your head doesn't do the trick. So I need to hear yes or no for those kind of answers. Sometimes when we're talking to each other, one of us is talking and the other thinks they know exactly what's going on, and so they start interrupting and talking over the first one. We can't do that here. So if a question is being asked by the lawyer, just wait until the question is in, and then there might be an objection to it or whatever, and then you can answer. And same thing for you folks, Ms. Anthony and Mr. Guthrie. If the witness is answering and you don't like the answer, just let them answer it anyway, and then tell me you want it stricken for whatever reason, rather than just interfering. So we'll go for an hour, and if we're not finished, we'll take a few-minute break, and then we'll start in again. Mr. Guthrie, please proceed.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I would like to request the witnesses from Cattle National Bank be sequestered.
Denied. Let's proceed.
Your Honor, with the understanding that the evidence is previously received, the state was received in part of that, including the declarations of the witnesses.
Yes.
I have no other witnesses, but I do have one other exhibit, which I listed as a pre-trial exhibit.
Okay.
I'd offer filing number 160, which is the certified copy of the partial deed of reconveyance related to these legal restrictions in this case.
Is there any objection?
Yes, sir. As you might expect.
I do expect it, but I don't understand it. Go ahead and tell me what your objection is.
Your Honor, that's not a true and correct copy. It doesn't contain original signatures. I can't verify that it's a copy of what was it, the Register of Deeds, I believe.
Your objection is overruled. 160 is admitted.
At this point, then, given the prior evidence has been received, I have no further witnesses to call at this time.
Thank you. Ms. Anthony, I know that you requested that the bank representatives be sequestered. Did you subpoena the bank representatives?
I did.
Okay. That's even more of a reason that they're not going to be sequestered. You may call your witness.
Before I call the witness, could I say something and make a request?
Go ahead.
I had asked for discovery from Mr. Guthrie on 2 occasions previously. That request was denied, probably appropriately, because there had not been a contested matter before the court. I have now filed my objection to their proof of claim. And it seems to me as though filing that objection makes it a contested matter and could allow the judge to rule to deny the automatic stay at this juncture right now.
I don't agree. So let's proceed. Call your witness.
Brian Lavelle.
Mr. Lavelle, please come forward to the court reporter who sits to my left and swear or affirm that you will tell the truth. Please have a seat, sir.
Now, if I want to show him a document that's on here, I just ask for that to be brought
That's
up.
correct. Good afternoon, sir.
How are you doing?
Please state your first and last names and spell them both.
Brian Lavelle, B-R-I-A-N-L-A-V-E-L-L-E.
Thank you. Proceed.
Mr. Lavelle, this will seem like an obvious question, but this lawsuit, or the creditor in this case, is Cattle National Bank. Are you the Cattle National Bank and Trust Company?
I work for the Cattle National Bank Trust Company, Vice President.
Do you represent Cattle National Bank?
Yes.
How long have you been a Vice President of Cattle National Bank?
October of 2002.
So approximately 10 years?
Yes.
Are you qualified to do your job as a Vice President of Cattle National Bank?
Yes.
Is Cattle National Bank and Trust Company a national bank?
Yes.
As a national bank, is the Cattle National Bank and Trust Company governed by the banking laws of the United States?
Yes.
Do you have personal knowledge of the facts concerning the alleged Cattle National Bank loan account that is a reason for this hearing today?
Yes. Yes.
If you could pull up, I believe it's claim number 6, please. This is a copy of claim number 6, the Form B-10 that Cattle National Bank filed with the court with respect to my bankruptcy. Do you recognize this form?
Yes.
Did you see this form before it was filed with the court?
Yes.
Are the documents filed with this court available to the public?
No.
Are you aware of the fact that by federal law, every account number related to an individual or entity is supposed to be redacted?
Object to the form of the question. Correctly state the law.
I can't hear you, Mr. Guthrie.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Object to the form of the question assumes some statement of the law there that I do not believe is true, and I will object to foundation as well then for that statement.
Okay. The objection is overruled. If you understand the question, you may answer it.
Can you repeat it?
Certainly. Are you aware of the fact that by federal law, every account number related to an individual or an entity is supposed to be redacted? I'm referring here specifically to bankruptcy filings.
I don't know specifically the law, so that would be no.
Do you know what the term redacted means?
No.
That means every single account number is only supposed to have the last 4 digits showing. All others are supposed to be blocked out so that they cannot be read.
The objection is not a question. It seems to be a statement by Ms. Anthony.
Objection is overruled. We're not going to spend much time going this direction, I'll tell you. Whether your account numbers have been redacted or not is not relevant to a motion for relief from the stay, so let's move on.
Would you look at paragraph or block number 2 titled The Basis for Claim? It's about halfway down the page, and read for the court what that says in that block.
money loaned?
Correct. Is it correct, as this form indicates, that the basis for the claim of the Cattle National Bank and Trust Company against me is that it loaned me money?
Yes.
What is meant by money loaned?
We took, you actually did, I don't know how much detail we need on this, but you did a loan with the bank, and we loaned money to you to build a house.
What is the definition of money?
It's currency that's traded between individuals, businesses.
There are many different types of currencies in the world. What is meant by money loaned on this document?
Funds that were advanced, or money that was advanced to you to build a home.
Did you hand me cash?
We did a cashier's check.
Is a check cash?
I would say yes.
Is a check money, or is a check in order to pay money?
I guess it's a check. In terms of a cashier's check, it's a way to transfer money from one account in a bank to another account to whoever that individual or person is that it's going to.
So then a cashier's check is money, or it's not money?
Objection to ask and answer.
Objection is sustained. He said it's money.
When did you give money to me?
The money to you, it didn't specifically go to you on the construction loan. How it worked was the funds were transferred from the bank to the title company, and then the title via a cashier's check, and then the title company actually funded the paying of bills or the subcontractors or companies, and that's how the money was, the majority of the money was paid.
So this form says money was loaned to me, but you're saying now that money was never given to me.
No, well, you authorized all the payments, though.
Did you at any time, let me backtrack, excuse me. What is your definition of money? When this says money loaned, what was given to me?
Objection to ask and answer.
Objection is sustained. It's been answered.
Do the bookkeeping entries and the general ledger account for Cattle National Bank show that money was lent to Karen Anthony?
Yes.
Do you have those bookkeeping entries with you today?
No, they're part of the exhibits, I believe.
General ledger bookkeeping entries are part of the exhibits?
No, the specific draw requests and the advances that were done on the construction loan are listed. I'm not sure where it was at, but that's part of the exhibits.
I'm specifically here talking about the general account ledgers for Cattle National Bank. Have the accounting entries, the general accounting entries for those ledgers, have they been provided to the court?
The ledger advances against your loan have been provided.
I'm not talking about a listing of advances. I'm talking about the general ledger accounting entries. If the bank has provided those, would you please tell me what filing number they are on?
We'd have to. I don't have that in front of me. It's one of the exhibits that were given. It showed a listing of all the advances that were made.
I have not ever seen any general ledger accounting entries of any type for Cattle National Bank.
Is
I'm
that a
very
question?
interested in knowing where they are. If you can tell me where they are in the court filings, I need to know that.
He's told you that he doesn't know where they are in the court filing, so let's move on.
When was it exactly that you gave me money?
It's on that specific exhibit, but initially it started on July 1st, 2005, I believe, was the first advance that was made.
So on July 1st, you gave me money. Can you tell me how much you gave me and where I was when you got it?
I would have to look at the exhibits, but my recollection was we paid off your lot loan at Lincoln Federal. Those monies were advanced. We also paid for the title insurance for the construction loan, and there was a loan fee that was paid, and I believe that was it from the first advance on July 1st of 05.
So even though this proof of claim lists, I think it's $266,000. Did you hand that to me on
the
July 1st?
initial loan amount was $285,000.
And you gave that?
It was a construction loan, and it's an open-end credit on a construction loan.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is you advance up to that $285,000 after the construction loan is completed. So the initial advance when we first completed the loan was to pay off the lot loan that you had at Lincoln Federal and pay for title insurance to do the construction loan for the home, and a loan fee to Cattle National Bank to do the construction loan. So that was the initial advance on July 1st of 05, I believe.
So you don't know the amount of money that you gave me on July 1st, and you don't know what form it was, and it wasn't $266,000. $266,329.83.
Check to the form of the question is compound.
Objection is overruled. The question is, did you loan her deliver all that money to her at the same time or not?
No, I did not.
Are checks money?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
There's a case ruled on by the Supreme Court of Oklahoma that says very clearly that checks are not money.
This is not time for a speech. This is a time for questions to be asked. If you want to make a final argument when all the questions are asked and all the witnesses are done, you may do so. But you are not going to spend the afternoon telling me all about cases from Oklahoma or someplace else. You ask your questions.
Would you look at page 7 of the proof of claim? Is this a copy of the form that Cattle National Bank submitted as documentation to support its proof of claim?
Yes.
The form does not appear to have a title on it at the top, but at the bottom it's called a universal note. Do you recognize this form?
Yes.
Is this a form that CNB has continued to call and identify as a promissory note?
Yes.
Do you see the words promissory note anywhere on this page?
No.
Under the top identifying information, there are boxes along the left side where one can select options, usually by marking with an X. There's a box by the words single advance and a box by the words multiple advance. Do you see those boxes?
Yes, I do.
Which one of these boxes is marked with an X?
Multiple advance.
After the words multiple advances, what is the sentence to the right?
It says the principal sum shown above is the maximum amount of principal I can borrow under this note.
What is that maximum amount referred to by that sentence?
It's $285,000 is the maximum amount.
$285,000 of what?
Of $285,000
What kind of dollars?
U.S. dollars.
What is a dollar?
It is a currency for the United States.
Do you have a dollar in your wallet?
I'm not sure.
Is that what you're referring to as a dollar?
Yes.
Is it a dollar or is it a Federal Reserve note?
I would call it a dollar.
What does it say on it?
Objection not relevant. What is it?
Objection is sustained.
Your Honor, it's relevant because they are talking about what I owe and what they are denominating it is. And it's relevant to know what they are asking me to pay.
I've made my ruling. Proceed.
Yes, sir. Is that the maximum amount of money that could be borrowed under the terms of this loan?
Unless there was a modification made to it, yes.
After the words multiple advances, there are 2 additional boxes that could be marked with an X. Would you tell the court what those are?
It says one is open-end credit and the other is closed-end credit.
Which box has been selected with an X?
The closed-end credit.
Were you the one who put the X in this box?
Yes.
Is this a form for loaning money, or is this a form for loaning or extending credit?
It's a form for loaning money.
Why then does it say credit?
Just, I don't know.
You're not sure. I've highlighted a line, well, I had a copy I was going to hand you. Down at the bottom, I'm sorry, right in the middle, it's on the screen right now. The paragraph payment below additional charges, do you see that? It's on the left-hand side in all capital letters, payments. Now it's down toward the bottom of the screen.
It says payments. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, and
Payments.
it has all capital letters in the word payments.
Yeah.
And then behind it says, I agree to pay this note as follows.
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
What is the line? Would you read the text of the line that's typed in after that?
It says semi-annual payments of accrued interest calculated amount on the amount of credit outstanding beginning on 1/1/06 and principal due on 7/1/06.
Did you type that text on this form?
Well, we have a program, computer program that types these up, but ultimately, yes, that would be my responsibility.
Usually, obviously, they are frequently done with a format, but somebody has to type in that sentence. You typed in that sentence to fill in on that line.
I specifically didn't, but my phone processor did.
Right. Okay. That sentence that you read says credit outstanding. Is this a form for loaning money, or is this a form for loaning or extending credit?
I would say credit or money, they seem to be the same thing to me.
So you believe that credit and money are the same thing?
Yes.
On the bank's proof of claim, Form B10 in Block 2, you read, and it shows that the basis of the claim is money loaned. The bank says it loaned Anthony money. On this universal note, it indicates it is a credit agreement, and it is credit that has been allegedly loaned.
Are you asking a question?
Is this a fraudulent document?
No.
Speaking as a senior representative of Cattle National Bank, did the bank loan me money?
Yes.
Where did this form come from?
I believe it's Walters Kluwer computer program that we use, which is pretty standard in the banking industry.
It's a standardized form?
Yes.
Who created the form?
I don't know.
Down at the bottom, can you run it all the way up, please? Down at the bottom there it says universal note.
Yeah, it says Experian at 1984 and I believe 1991, Banker Systems Incorporated.
Are you familiar with the company Experian?
Yes.
What kind of business is Experian in?
Objection is sustained.
Your Honor, it's relevant to the kind of business Experian does and the kind of forms they create.
I've ruled.
Is Experian a credit reporting agency?
Objection. That objection is overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
Do they deal in real estate loans or do they deal in issues related to credit?
Objection to Bible Foundation.
Objection is overruled. You may answer if you understand or you know.
Can you repeat that, Karen, please?
Certainly. Do they deal in real estate loans or do they deal in issues related to credit?
I don't know.
Is there anything on this form that indicates this is a form made for and used for real estate transactions or transactions in lawful money?
Yes, under the security agreement box being checked, which references a deed of trust, which deals with real estate.
The bank entered the information in the deed of trust, is that correct?
That's correct.
So nothing else in that block. Security could be my car?
If it was referenced via financing and
So
security agreement.
the paragraph security doesn't reference real estate as a part of the actual form, is that correct?
No, it's referencing real estate as it relates to security, where it says this note is separately secured by described separate document by type and date, and it says deed of trust dated 6/25 or 6/27 of 05, which
Okay.
has to deal with real estate.
I apologize, I don't think I'm being very clear. Cattle National Bank putting the information on deed of trust. Is that correct?
Cattle National Bank, yes, puts
Okay.
information.
So that's not a part of the standardized form. Entering the words deed of trust, that's not a part of the standardized form.
No.
Okay. If I had a signature loan and I was going to put up my car as collateral, you would enter that in that block, is that correct?
That's correct.
So that's not something that by virtue of the form that indicates it's real estate. You just happened to type in deed of trust and that made this particular document for you, it made it having to do with real estate transaction.
Yes.
Okay. So there's nothing about this form that indicates it's for real estate loans. Is that correct?
Yeah, objection.
No.
That's not reflected what he testified to.
Objection is overruled.
And your answer was?
I said no.
Thank you. Is this a form that contains the loan disclosures required by federal laws, the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, otherwise known as RESPA, by the Truth in Lending Act, sometimes called TILA, T-I-L-A, or by the Uniform Commercial Code?
Object, the question is compounded. It doesn't reflect the statement of counsel's asserting the law applies or acts to this transaction. There's no foundation for that.
I'm going to sustain the objection and let you start over, but Mr. Guthrie, you're going to have to sit up closer to that microphone. I can't hear you hardly.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Pull the mic way over.
Does this form contain the loan disclosures required by the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, otherwise known as RESPA?
No.
Does this form contain the loan disclosures required by the Truth in Lending Act?
No.
Does this form contain all the disclosures that are to be provided under the Uniform Commercial Code?
I don't know.
Do you have any other documents that indicate disclosures for this loan were provided to me?
The disclosures for this loan were not required because this was a business purpose loan. This house was built as a spec house, so those disclosures were not required.
How did you determine that this home was a spec house?
From conversations with you when we were preparing the loan. Also, if you look on the front of the promissory note, for the note, it says built at the bottom right. It says build spec home at 4930 Thomas Brook Lane, Lincoln, Nebraska. And spec means specification.
Spec means what?
Spec house. A speculative
Is
house.
spec a word?
Excuse me, speculative house.
So spec is an acronym?
I'm not sure on that, but
Is spec an abbreviation?
yes, it'd be abbreviation.
So what is the word spec, what does the abbreviation mean?
Speculative.
Speculative. What kind of a person normally builds a speculative house?
Individuals or businesses that want to build a house to sell for a profit.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge of me being part of a business?
No, you're an individual.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge of me ever having built any home prior to this one?
No.
Do you have any knowledge of me ever having invested in any kind of investment property whatsoever?
No.
What address was this home built at?
4930 Thomas Brook Lane.
Who's living in that home right now?
You are currently.
What happened to the other home that I was living in before?
You were living in that house initially. You wanted to build this house, which was right behind your existing house, to make sure that your backyard and a house that was built was appropriate to your likings. So you wanted to build a quote-unquote spec house for purposes to sell to somebody else. That was our initial conversation.
And who's living in that house now?
You are currently.
Has that house ever been for sale? Has the house ever been for sale at 4930 Thomas Brook Lane?
Yes, it has.
When was it for sale?
It was for sale after you completed the house in 2006.
Listed with what real estate agent?
I don't know.
Do you have a copy of any kind of a listing agreement?
I don't know.
Okay. Does the situation that wound up occurring here, is that typical of a normal speculative builder to build a house and immediately move into it?
Objection is not relevant to the issues. Objection is sustained.
Do speculative builders normally build houses and move in there, into those houses? Or do they sell them?
There are times that people move in if they can't get them sold. There are times builders, normally though, the plan is to try to get them sold.
So I fit the stereotype of a speculative builder?
Objection is not relevant. Objection is sustained.
Do you normally have any kind of parameters that you use? I mean, if you think that you are loaning a large amount of money to an individual, do you have any parameters used by the bank to look at speculative builders?
Yes, we look at loan to value on houses. We look at people's individuals or businesses' balance sheets, income that they make, whether they're qualified to actually build a house.
Would it be important if you were financing a speculative builder, would it be important that they have any prior experience with building anything?
It depends on the situation. In your particular case, you worked with, I believe, McKee Construction, who was a established builder that we are aware of, and worked with him to build the house. So we felt more comfortable in that situation. So yes.
So if you decided that I was going to build a speculative home, you were okay with the fact that I had never built any kind of a home of any type before?
Yes.
I would like you to take a look at page 8 of 19 of the document submitted. Would you describe in a general sense what kind of information this page contains?
It's standard loan information.
Is that what people would call disclosure?
I object to the foundation of the form of the question. I don't know what people.
Objection is sustained.
Is it essential for a potential borrower to see these disclosures?
Yes.
Would you scroll down to the bottom of the page? Is there a signature line on this page indicating that the alleged borrower has read these disclosures?
This note here is this is on the back page of the promissory note or universal note, and that was signed. So yes, that was given. It's given to all borrowers that sign the note. Yes.
Is there a signature line on this page indicating that the alleged borrower has read these disclosures?
No, it's on the first page.
Are there lines in the lower right-hand corner of the page for initials of an alleged borrower?
Yes.
Does this page appear to be initialed by anyone?
No.
Is there anything on this page that indicates it was shown to the alleged borrower?
Yes, from the front page.
Is there anything on this page that indicates it was shown to an alleged borrower?
Yes.
Is there anything on this page that indicates it was shown to an alleged borrower? If there is something on this page, would you please tell me what on this page indicates it was shown to a borrower?
I think I've already answered that.
I don't believe you have. On this page, page 8 of 19, which is, as you say, the reverse side of a promissory note,
Which is page
what
1.
is on this page that indicates this page was shown to someone? On page 8.
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know what the question. I've already answered it for you 3 times.
No, you have not answered that question.
It's
I've
because the
asked
two of
you-
you aren't communicating. You haven't answered the question. It's not a trick question. Just say there's nothing on there.
Okay. Nothing on there.
Thank you.
Then we can move on.
Thank you. If it was never seen by the borrower, how would an alleged borrower have seen these disclosures? Have known these disclosures?
I'm going to object before the question hypothetical. So,
Sustained.
Would you look at page 9 of this proof of claim? Is this a standardized form used by Cattle National Bank for real estate loans?
Yes.
This form does not appear to have a title on it. What was the purpose of this form?
Well, when we were on this particular form, what happened is you came to me and requested that we finish off the basement. You were having a tough time selling the house, or the house wasn't selling, so we wanted to finish off the basement. So we agreed to increase the loan amount from $285,000 to $310,000 to finish off the basement so we could sell the house. That's what this form was used for.
Okay, you just indicated that I could not sell the house. You also indicated that you don't have a listing agreement. Can you tell me from this what the dates of the listing agreement were, that you know that my house was not selling on this particular date, 5/19/06?
That was from you calling me and saying, hey, I think we need to finish the basement off, and I
Can
agreed.
you corroborate the listing dates?
No.
Okay. What was the supposedly maximum amount a borrower could draw on this loan? Or, excuse me. The maximum amount of loan that the borrower could draw on this loan from page 1 of the promissory note was $285,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this has been changed to reflect what amount?
To $310,000.
Now, would you please look at page 10 of the bank's proof of claim? Is this a standardized form used by Cattle National Bank for real estate loans?
Yes.
Standardized form, or you just printed it?
It's a standardized form we use to make amendments to our notes.
Okay, a standardized form, when I'm talking about that, perhaps I can be more specific, is a standardized form where you fill in the blanks. This is an amendment to note with a specific account number at the top. It doesn't look like a standardized form.
It is a standardized form for the bank.
Perhaps you mean standardized format, not form?
Why are we arguing about this? What has this got to do with anything?
What is the purpose of this amendment?
These amendments are to make adjustments to the initial promissory note based upon where we're at in the construction process.
What specifically was changed about this note from the previous one?
We increased the loan. Which one are we talking about now?
We're talking about page 10.
We changed the maturity date, and the borrower made an interest payment, and we kept the interest rate the same. That's
Did
what
you
this
provide?
amendment.
I'm sorry.
That's what this was stating.
Did you provide a statement as to how that interest payment was calculated?
I just provided the amendment to the note.
So you just told the borrower what the borrower needed to pay, and that was it?
Yes.
There was no disclosure, no statement as to how the interest was calculated?
No.
You just talk to a borrower and say, pay me this much money?
Yes.
Okay. What date was this effective?
It was effective on 11/7/06.
What's the date by the signature line?
November 18th of 2006.
What was the due date on the previous form?
Can you go back to it? Next one down. 9/1/06.
Okay, so there's approximately a 2-month, maybe a little bit longer date gap.
Yes.
Where's the loan agreement that covers that date gap?
The initial, this extension plus the initial promissory note.
So if there's nothing that covers that date gap, then you just kind of
The note came due,
wing it?
and you and I were in discussions about what we were going to do, what the next steps. So it took some time.
So there's no loan agreement in effect for this loan from 9/1/06 to 11/07/06, or maybe 11/18/06?
No.
Okay. Is that your signature on this form?
Yes.
Page 11 of 19. This is another document that's titled Amendment to Note. What was the purpose of this page?
Well, the note came due again, and because the house hadn't sold yet, we're still working on that. And we changed the rate and required another interest payment and extended out the maturity date.
So this is another interest payment that was not accompanied by any kind of a statement to indicate how that payment was calculated.
When the loan matures, the maturity notices are sent out to the borrower, and the borrower is issued a statement that says how much principal and interest is due at maturity. And since the house hadn't sold, we determined to make an interest payment, extend out the note again, and made an amendment to the note. And you and I agreed to do that to get the house sold.
Did you provide any disclosures about how the interest rate changes the projected cost of this loan?
No.
Did you provide any of the disclosures required by federal law?
Well, I would check to the form of the question and use the word required by federal law. If he's talking about it's required for federal law for this transaction, there's no showing that is applicable.
Objection is sustained.
What is the effective date of this document? Is the effect... I'm sorry.
Just give me a second. I'm having a hard time reading. Thank you. Our effective 2/27/07.
What is the date by the signature line?
March 15th of 07.
What is the maturity date?
New maturity date is July 1st of '07.
Are we on page 11 now? That's page 11. The maturity date on page 10 is January 31st, 2007. The effective date on page 11 is either 2/27 or 15 March. Is there another loan agreement that is missing that covers this date gap of 4 to 6 weeks?
No.
Is that your signature at the bottom of this page?
Yes.
Would you look at page 12 of 19 of the bank's proof of claim? Is this a standardized form used by Cattle National Bank for real estate loans?
Yes.
Form also does not have a title on it. What's the name at the upper left corner of this form?
Karen Anthony.
Would you flip back to page 7 of 19, the original note that Cattle National Bank refers to as a promissory note? What is the name on that form?
Karen Anthony.
What is the name on that form?
On number 7?
Yes.
Yeah, Karen Anthony.
Would read that carefully and read it specifically.
Oh, Karen J. Anthony.
Why are there different names on these documents?
Just admitted the middle initial.
Back again to page 12 of 19. What are the changes made by this document?
The changes are that we put we decrease the interest rate, and we put the loan on monthly payments, and extended out the maturity date until 12/15 of '08. So basically extended it out a year and decreased the interest rate and put it on payments.
Okay. Did you provide any of the disclosure required by RESPA?
Same objection as to the required by RESPA as it relates to this transaction.
Sustained.
If you look back on page 7 of 19, what did it say under the paragraph payments?
It says semi-annual payments of accrued interest calculated on the credit outstanding beginning on 1/1 of '06 and principal due on 7/1 of '06.
So does that mean interest-only payments 2 times a year?
Yes, until 7/1 of '06.
So I apologize, but back to page 12 of 19. So now the loan is on a monthly payment, is that correct?
That's correct.
It appears to be interest only when it was originated. Why did it change to monthly payments?
Because you sold your house at I think Glen Oaks, I believe 7400 Glen Oaks, and you couldn't at that time get financing, permanent financing, long-term financing on this particular house. So we agreed to give it a year, put it on payments, so we can start having a principal pay down to give you an opportunity to get the house refinanced and get a long-term loan.
So, do you have anything that corroborates these conversations that you had?
Your signature.
What changed about this loan?
You sold your house.
What date did that house sell?
I believe it was August or 8/15 of '07. Is that right?
That was my question to you.
8/15 of '07.
8/15. Is this now an amortizing loan where monthly payments are made to pay interest but also reduce the alleged principal?
During this time period, yes.
So with this extension, it became an amortizing loan.
Yes.
and you state that the other house was sold, and you state that I'm living in this house now, did you now provide disclosures that are required by federal law for real estate mortgages?
I could object to the same question as how foundation is, it relates to this transaction. There's been no evidence for showing for that.
Objection is sustained.
Your Honor, it appears as though this is now a long-term real estate loan that would require disclosure.
Well, you're not a lawyer, and you can tell me it would require disclosure, but that doesn't mean it would require disclosure. So you just proceed. You can assume whatever you want about the law, but that doesn't mean you're right, and I'm not ruling in your favor on that issue.
Would you please read what paragraph 1 says on this form?
Me?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Just wants to read it, or is she asking to read it?
I don't know.
I said, would you please read what paragraph 1 says on this form?
Do you want him to read it out loud? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, please.
Oh, please make it clear.
I'm sorry.
So by mutual agreement, the original obligation loan number 2500647 is hereby changed or extended as follows.
I'm sorry, I just meant the numbered paragraph 1 below it.
I'm not sure what you're asking for.
Would you just please read the text after the number 1 on that paragraph? There's just one line.
I'm going to object to this. Just a second. I'm going to object to that reading. It's already in evidence. We can all read it ourselves. It's not going to change.
Well, we'll do it this one last time, but we're not going to spend all afternoon with him reading stuff that I've already admitted into evidence and I can read myself. So just read line 1.
Okay. The remaining balance of payments in the amount of $257,843.55 originally due on 12/01/07 are now due on 12/15/08.
Is there anything on this document that indicates this has been changed to an amortizing loan?
Yes, under number 3, additional terms says monthly payments of $17.20 beginning on 1/15/08 and continuing until maturity.
What in that text indicates it is amortizing?
The monthly payments of $17.20.
So is one to assume that just because there's a monthly payment that it is principal and interest?
Yes.
How would one assume that?
By reading number 3.
Do you have a copy of the document which explains that to Anthony and discloses the terms of this financing?
No.
This document says that the previous maturity date was 12/1/07, but the maturity date on page 11 of 19 is July 1st, 2007. Where is the alleged loan document that was effective between July 1st, 2007 and 12/01/07?
It's we don't have that.
So there's a loan document missing, or is just another date gap?
It's missing.
Okay. How long of a date gap is that?
I believe it was 5 months or so.
So did you know that there was a missing document before you looked at this right now?
No. Well, I knew. Excuse me. Can I restate that? I didn't realize it, and I thought you had sent it back, but obviously we hadn't got it back yet. So we were missing that document.
So it's
we just have a copy.
So it's my fault that the loan document?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay. Is this document a true and correct copy?
Yes, it is.
If you look at the signature line on the right, at the lower part of it, why is there a shadow under that signature?
Well, when I sent this extension to you, what we got back was this is a 3-part extension. So the first part's the original, and then the next 2 were actual copy, or you push the ink through. So I got back the pink copy, so what I did is made a copy of that and sent it back to you asking for original signature, and you sent that back to me with an original signature, and I signed it again as well.
So that's why there are two signatures on this.
That's why there's a little bit of a problem there, is because of I got the wrong copy back from you initially, so I made a copy of it and sent it back to you and had you sign it again.
Do you have the original of this document?
Yes.
Do you have the original of page 1 and 2 of the promissory note?
Yes.
Do you have the original of page 9?
Could you go back to page 9, please? Yes.
Do you have the original of page 10?
Yes.
Do you have the original of page 11?
Yes.
Would you please take a look at page 13 of 19? This is a third type of document. Is this a standardized form used by Cattle National Bank for real estate loans?
Yes.
How is it different from the other two?
The other one, it's the same as the other one. It's just in instead of typing it out, this is a word processing document.
So you're no longer using that little 1/3 size sheet form?
No.
What are the alleged changes made by this document?
We increased the maturity date for 2 years. We decreased the interest rate and decreased the payments to you.
Have you provided disclosures explaining what the change in the cost of financing for this loan will be with the change of interest rate?
Disclosures are that we disclose are on this extension.
So nothing more than what's on this right
No.
now. Does this document specify a balloon payment?
Yes.
Would you please take a look at paragraph 1 and tell me what the amount is there?
$255,552.59.
Is that the balloon payment that's due on 12/15/08?
That was the principal amount when we signed the. That was the principal amount of the loan on as of 12/17 of 08, I believe.
The sentence reads, the remaining balance of payments in the amount of $255,552.59 originally due on or before 12/15/08 is now due on 12/15/10. Does that mean there's a balloon payment of that amount of money due on 12/15/10?
Now, what that means, that's the principal amount that's due.
Would you explain that? I don't understand what you mean. It says on the form it's due on 12/15/10. That amount of money is due on 12/15/10.
No, it says originally due on 12/15/08 are now due on 12/15/010. And then we put it on payments.
So $255,000, 552.59 is due on 12/15/10. Is that correct?
Well, that was due on 12/15/08, and now it's going
And now due on 12/15/10. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. If you take a look at paragraph 3, additional terms, it states on that line 23 monthly payments of $1,650 beginning on 1/15/09 and one balloon payment of $247,640.03 is due on 12/15/10.
Correct.
So that amount of money that I can't even seem to be able to say is due on 12/15/10.
If all the payments are made, yeah, that would be correct.
So there's two different amounts of money indicated on this form that are due on 12/15/10.
The first amount is $255,552. That 59 is the principal balance when we sign the agreement, and the other balance is what it would be at the end of 2-year period.
So are both of these due, or is one of them due? Which one is due on 12/15/10?
It would be the 247,640.03.
So the one up above, we could just sort of line that out and say that really wasn't due, but it says it's due?
No.
So we wouldn't want to line that out.
No.
But it's not really due.
Come on.
I'm trying to understand, Your Honor, there's two large amounts of money that are both owing on the same date. I'm trying to distinguish which one is in fact true.
You're trying to play stupid, and I'm getting tired.
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
He's answered the question. Move on.
Since this is allegedly an interest-only loan, why did the amount of the balloon payment go down from the remaining balance of payments of $257,843.55 on the previous document?
Payments were made by you.
So this is an interest-only loan, but the principal goes down.
This is not an interest-only loan now. It was amended to be a principal and interest loan, monthly payments. That's how the payment. That's how the amount goes down from 255 down to 247.
So this speculative loan, this alleged speculative loan, is now a two-year loan.
Now it is, yes. From this document, you're correct.
Is this now an amortizing loan where monthly payments are made to pay interest but also to reduce the alleged principal?
Yes.
Where on this document does it say that the loan is amortizing?
It doesn't specifically say it.
Where does it say that payments will go to both interest and principal?
It just says the payments.
Are there dates by the signature lines?
Not by the signature line, no.
Would you look at page 14 of 19? Is this a standardized form used by Cattle National Bank for real estate loans?
Yes.
This form does not appear to have a title on it. What was the purpose of this form?
The note came due on 12/15 of 10. And you can see the balance was at 248,632, and so it matured. So we extended it out and decreased the rate. So we extended it from 12/15 of 10 to 1/31 of 11.
So is this the first indication on any of the documents that principal and interest, well, I guess it's not payments, principal and interest are due at maturity on 1/31/11, is that correct?
Yes.
But the alleged borrower is supposed to continue to pay the payments that there were before?
At that time, the borrower was struggling to make payments.
Mm-hmm.
So the two of us worked out an agreement to extend it out a bit and to get hopefully the house on for sale, get second half taxes paid, and extend out the maturity date to 1/31 of 11.
Why does it say that a balance of payments of $255,552.59 originally due on or before 12/15/08 is now due on 12/15/10 when the previous document, page 12 of 19, indicated that $257,843.55 was due at 12/01/07 and would also be due on 12/15/08?
The balance in number 1 reflects what the current principal balance was on 12/30 of 10. So you can see if you look back from the other documents, there were pay downs on the principal based upon the payments were being made by you.
Can you please describe the process that you went through in having the documents on pages 9 through 15 signed?
I printed those up and scanned them and emailed them to you, and you signed those and sent them back to me.
So you have no verification of whoever might have signed these, you have no verification of that?
Other than the conversations you and I were having, and you mailing those back to me.
And do you have any kind of recorded conversations that you indicate that you had with me?
I don't have it recorded. I have emails,
So you have no
correspondence.
corroboration for the things you say that were the topic of our conversations?
On tape? No.
Were any of these signatures ever notarized?
No.
Is this an original document with an original signature?
Yes.
This is what you're looking at on the
Oh,
screen?
this? No, this is a copy.
Do you have the originals at Cattle National Bank?
Yes.
Did anyone witness anyone actually signing these documents?
No.
Did you see anyone sign any of these forms?
This one, no.
Any of these forms, other than page 1 and 2, which are 7 and 8, did you see anybody sign the documents that are on page 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, or 14?
Specifically, no.
There's a declaration of Brian Lavelle that I believe is document number, this might be the same one. Is this document 54? No, this is claim 6. Document 54. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Did you create the statements on page 1 and 2 of this document, or did your attorney create and draft these statements for you?
My attorney.
Did you make any statement on this document explaining where the funds for an alleged loan to me came from?
Can you go to the second page on that, please? Can you repeat the question, Karen, please?
Certainly. Did you make any statement on this document explaining where the funds for an alleged loan to me came from?
No.
Would you please look at what is attached to this declaration as Exhibit 3? And look specifically at page 1 of that exhibit. What is this document called?
That's your loan transaction history summary?
Have you seen this inquiry previously?
Yes.
Did you prepare this inquiry?
I printed it out from our system, yes.
What kind of information is on the loan history summary inquiry?
Payment history, or advances on the loan, or payments that were made on the loan. So each transaction that was done.
So each transaction from the loan account is on this report?
Mm-hmm.
Did you send out this report to me on a regular basis?
On a regular basis? No.
Did you ever send out a copy of this inquiry to me?
I don't recall.
Is it a chronological record of both disbursements and payments on an alleged loan to Carrie Anthony?
Yes.
There's a number of columns of numbers across the lower part of this page, and there are column headings that repeat on the next 2 pages of the exhibit. Do you see those headings?
Yes.
Are the dates listed in reverse chronological order with the most recent dates listed first?
Yes.
Are the types of transactions listed under the column heading for description? Is that what that is?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, there's different types of transactions.
Yes, there's.
Is that spelled out, the type of transaction? Is that spelled out under the column heading for description?
Yes.
On page 3, most of the entries are for principal advance. In
yes.
your opinion, does that mean the bank paid out funds?
Yes.
Did it pay out money?
Yes.
In what form?
Cashier's check.
And who were the cashier's checks always made out to the same entity?
No.
What type of account were these funds drawn from?
Cattle National Bank's account.
A general account or a specific account related to this loan?
General account.
General account.
Which is then in turn applied, posted to your account.
If an account has checks written off of it, does it first have to have funds in it before you can write a check?
Yes.
Who deposited the funds in that account?
In Cattle National Bank's account. It's a cash account from deposits of the bank.
So you use depositor funds to provide money for loans, for homes, for lots?
Yes.
What is it you relied upon to loan depositor funds that gave you the authority to loan depositor funds?
It's,
Yeah, I'm going to object to the form of the question. There's no evidence that they're loan depositor funds on behalf of any depositor.
Your Honor, I can't hear. I can't
hear him either. Please make your objection clear. I'm sorry.
Oh, but maybe it's, I don't know if it's, yeah, maybe it's on. I just wasn't close enough. Is now, can you hear better, Your Honor?
Yeah.
All right. My objection to that is that it indicates that there's a loan of depositor funds on. I don't know if she means on behalf of the depositor, or just that that's where the source of the money that came to the bank. So I don't know how he knows which one he's answering in that question. So I object to the form of the question. It's not clear to me what she's asking in that context. And I think there's a difference. What I've read from the briefs is he makes a statement that the bank can't loan depositors funds on behalf of the depositor, versus obviously the bank makes loans from deposits that it gets.
The objection is sustained. Please clarify the question.
A checking account has to have funds in it before checks are written off that account. Is that correct?
yes.
Did you use depositor funds to fund my loan?
We used the bank's cash funds to fund your loan.
What is the source of the bank's cash funds?
Sources for banks come from businesses, individuals, deposits, or banks taking loans out to fund deposit or to fund cash. So there's a combination of ways you can get funds from the Federal Reserve, you can get funds from the Federal Home Loan Bank, get funds from depositors. There's multiple sources for banks to obtain cash to loan out to individuals.
So Cattle National Bank routinely uses deposited funds to fund loans to other people.
Yes.
What did you rely on to give the bank the authority to loan out depositor funds?
I'm not sure how to answer that question.
Let me try to clarify it. Banks only have the power and authority to do what they are allowed to do under banking law. So everything that you're allowed to do is specified in banking law.
Correct. And we're allowed to make loans to individuals or businesses with cash that the bank has, available cash funds in their account to loan money out.
Please state what you are relying on in national banking law that gives you the power and authority to loan out depositor funds.
I object to the form of the question. He doesn't have to sit here and write a brief or recite the law on that.
Sustained.
Does the banking charter allow you to loan depositors fund?
The banking charter allows us to loan funds.
Do you have a copy of the banking charter with you today?
No.
Is that available for me to come into the bank to see next week?
That's a question he's not going to answer. He'll have to consult with counsel whether that's applicable. She's already asked for those things. There's been an objection made twice to it now, including that area. So I don't know that he can answer that question at this time, Your Honor.
Objection is sustained.
Have you obtained permission from any of your depositors to loan money?
I'm going to object to the form of the question. And if we can, I would like to move it along. If she's asking loaning a specific deposit for a specific customer on the specific customer's balance, that's one question. If she's simply saying, everybody that makes a deposit, where do you get the authority, then that's a different question. And I don't know which one she's trying to ask.
Please clarify.
Your Honor, when he is saying that money is in a general account, then my questions have to be general. If there was an account that specifically had $285,000 in it that you maintain was loaned out to me, then I would address that individual account. But you're talking about this account as though it's not an individual account. There's just a pool of money available to fund loans.
So what's the question?
I have to talk in general terms if he talks in general terms about where the money's coming from. I have to ask general questions because he's giving me general answers.
Well, they seem like general answers to you because you don't understand the law. But I'm going to take a break at this time. 10 minutes. Please recess the court.
Please rise.
You can step down, get some water, go to the restroom.
Rise.
Please be seated. Ms. Anthony, you can continue your questioning, but I need to warn everybody that at 4:30 this afternoon we're done. If you're going to spend hours on details, fine. At 4:30 we're done.
Mr. Lavelle, on page 2 of Exhibit 3, near the top one quarter of the page, are entries of regular payment under the column heading description. Do you see those?
Yes.
Are those monthly payments?
Yes.
What is the first date for a regular payment?
$124.08.
And those payments under the column for principal and interest, it looks like that describes for each entry, the top number is principal, the bottom number is interest. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
Okay, the first 3 payments, 124, 222, and 325, were those interest only or were those principal payments?
The first 3 were all applied to interest
Why were they all applied to interest?
because the interest balance at the time was at or above the amount that was paid.
Did you ever provide an accounting of that to the borrower?
I don't know.
When does it start to actually amortize?
On 4/25/08, it's $131.93 went to principal.
But this kind of accounting, explain what was principal and what was interest payments, that was never provided to the alleged borrower.
I don't know.
Does Cattle National Bank have an insurance policy that covers loss if this alleged loan is defaulted?
I don't know.
So you don't know if there's ever been an insurance policy payout on this loan?
On this loan? No.
Does Cattle National Bank hold the original promissory note for this loan?
Yes.
Can a promissory note be sold?
Yes.
Has this promissory note been sold?
No.
Is a promissory note an asset or a liability to the bank?
It's an asset.
If I gave you a promissory note without a signature, does that have any value?
No.
What gives a promissory note the value that it has?
It's contract between the bank and the borrower for a loan that's given out, and depending on what it is, what the loan was for, that's what gives it the value.
If I execute a promissory note in the amount of $100,000 and give it to the bank, does that promissory note have value?
Yes.
It can be sold?
Yes.
What gives it the value? It's a piece of paper. What gives it the value?
The assets, or the asset that the money was loaned out, and the promise that the borrower is going to pay it back with interest. So
I'm just
that gives
talking
it
about the
value.
promissory note right now. I'm not talking about any collateral. If I give you a promissory note for $100,000, a promise to pay in the future, what gives that promissory note value?
Your Honor, I'm going to object this line of questioning. It really has nothing to do with what we're dealing with, the issues in this matter before the court today.
Well, I'll let it go a couple more minutes, but it's not going to go forever.
Yes, sir. If I gave you a promissory note without a signature, is there an obligation to pay the bank anything?
I'm going to object. What's the relevance of an unsigned promissory note in this case?
Objection is sustained.
So you agree that a promissory note has value?
A sign, yes.
As a singular document, a singular piece of paper, what gives a promissory note value?
I'm going to asked and answered.
Well, you can try to answer it one more time. Whether she agrees or not,
Okay.
we're not going to worry about it.
It's a contract between the bank and the borrower for a value that's lent out, which is an asset of the bank, and the value on that is the repayment and the interest that's being repaid between the contract. There was value there. If it is paid back, there's value with that contract.
Does the signature give it value?
Yes.
So it's my signature that gives a promissory note the value.
Yes.
Is it my promissory note that's used to fund a loan back to me?
Yes.
So the funds provided for a loan to a customer, in this case a loan to Anthony, the loan that you allege Cattle National Bank made to Anthony, that was funded by my promissory note, is that correct?
Yes.
There is a document, it was from the date of the last hearing. It's an exhibit that I entered. I don't know what the date is on it, or the exhibit number, I'm sorry.
How would you identify it? What's it called?
It's an email message from Brian Lavelle.
There's one at 145.
That's it. Thank you, sir. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Did you send that email to me?
Yes.
On the third line, it says we loan out our deposits. You indicated earlier that you do loan out depositor funds.
We loan out cash for the bank that's in the bank's account.
So now you just indicated that my promissory note is what funded my loan.
Well,
Here you say deposits fund my loan. Which is it?
how it works is banks have sources of funds from multiple sources, and that money is ultimately ends up in a cash account at the bank, and then the bank loans out that money to borrowers via via the contract that's put together between the borrower and the bank. And those funds are lent out to people to fund whatever, purchase a house, buy a car, numerous different ways of doing that.
So, just a few minutes ago, you said that my promissory note, the value that is in my promissory note is what funds my note back, my loan back to me, right?
The promissory note reflects what we're going to do to loan money out to an individual or business, and it reflects the contract between the borrower and the bank.
The promissory note has value. That's what you said earlier. Is that correct?
Yes, it does.
And the promissory note is what's used to fund the loan. Is that correct?
Yes.
Then the bank didn't put up anything to fund my loan. It was my promissory note and my signature that was used to fund that loan.
Along with the collateral that was being funded in your particular case.
My promissory note has value. My promissory note was used to fund a loan back to me. The bank did not put up any assets of his own. Is that correct?
That's incorrect.
Then explain that statement. If my promissory note has value and my promissory note was used to fund the loan, then explain how the bank put up anything of value for this loan.
Your Honor, he's already testified how that system worked for
I
him.
agree. You simply don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So the objection is sustained. He's answered that question. You're using the term fund as if it was the money. He's using the term fund as he funded the loan. He gave you money. So you can either stop asking those questions or you can ask about one more that way. But you just are misunderstanding the process, probably on purpose.
Sir, I'm not. I apologize if my train of thought is not going where Mr. LaBelle thinks it is. My promissory note has value. What I asked before is if I issued a promissory note to the bank for $100,000, then that promissory note is worth $100,000. It can be bought and sold in the securities market. Notes are bought and sold on a daily basis.
You may ask questions.
Is it correct that my promissory note has value?
But ask and answer.
It's been answered. Sustained.
Are the proceeds from my promissory note used to fund a loan back to me?
The promissory note reflects what the funds that we lent out to you.
The promissory note has value. You stated that. It has value in and of itself. It is a promise to pay my future interest, my future income to somebody else. It has value. It can be bought and sold. You can take a $100,000 promissory note and sell it.
Excuse me. You're either going to ask questions or we're going to stop this hearing. You're not making speeches. You're not going to convince him by arguing with him. You can ask questions.
It appears from what you've said as though a promissory note is used to fund a loan. Is that correct?
Yes.
Would you explain how the bank does that, how the bank uses the proceeds of the note to fund a loan?
In this case, the promissory note was a construction loan for $285,000 initially, and then it was changed to $310,000. Invoices were submitted by yourself. The bank paid money to the title company or to you or to others to fund the construction of a house. So the funds of the bank were used to fund the construction of a house. And that was reflected on the contract between you and the bank to use those funds to build a home.
Are you disregarding the value of the promissory note?
No.
Does the promise... What you are saying implies that the bank did not put up anything for this loan. The proceeds of the promissory note, which can be sold in the open market, are used to fund a loan.
Object to the form of the question. It's not what was the witness testified to several times.
Objection is sustained.
Where does the money come from to fund this loan if it's not coming from the promissory note?
I object asked and answered.
Sustained.
What do you do with the value of the promissory note? A promissory note is worth money. What does the bank do with it?
It's all the loans in the bank are assets of the bank.
The promissory note in and of itself has value. It's not a loan from the bank to me. It has value. I give it to you. It has value. What do you do with the value of the promissory note?
Objection, he just answered that. Asked and answered.
Objection is sustained. You ask it about one more time and it's over. You don't like his answer, but that's too bad.
Your Honor, may I take a break?
You had a break.
Do you use GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, in a bank? Is a bank required to use generally accepted accounting principles?
Objection, compound question. I don't know which one she wants him to answer.
Is the
Sustained.
bank required to
Go ahead.
Is the bank required to comply with generally accepted accounting principles?
Please speak into the microphone. The court recorder can't hear you.
Is the bank required to comply with generally accepted accounting principles?
I don't know.
Does Cattle National Bank maintain general accounting ledgers?
Yes.
Since there seems to be some communication breakdown between my question and your answer, will the bookkeeping entries show what the source of the funds for this loan was?
Yes.
Do you have those bookkeeping entries with you today?
No.
Would you be able to provide those bookkeeping entries to me next week?
I don't know.
Did Cattle National Bank use depositor funds to make an alleged loan to Anthony, or did they use the funds that was inherent in the promissory note?
Your Honor, the witness has been asked that 3 or 4 times, and I've objected 3 of the last times. I'm going to object it again as asked and answered. He said it the only way he knows how to say it.
Sustained. There are no proceeds from your promissory note, ma'am. That's where the problem is here. Proceed.
Do you keep up with the real estate values in Lincoln?
Yes.
Do you have your own professional opinion on what the value of this property is right now?
Yes.
What is it?
290,000.
Where did you get that value from?
Comparable sales within the marketplace.
Did you do your own analysis?
No.
Who did it for you?
Another loan officer in the bank.
A loan officer?
and then reviewed by a certified appraiser within the bank.
Within Cattle National Bank?
Yes.
Who works in Seward?
Yes.
Have you ever had a market analysis done with a real estate agent?
Have I?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had it done on this property?
With the no.
Your Honor, I have no further questions, but I reserve the right to call this witness and would ask that he just remain here.
Thank you. Do you have any questions of the
No
witness?
questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
You're excused. Do you have any other witness?
Brian Seaman.
Mr. Seaman, please come forward to the court reporter and swear or affirm that you will tell the truth. Please have a seat, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Please state your first and last names and spell them both.
First name Ryan, R-Y-N-E. Last name Seaman, S-E-A-M-A-N.
Thank you, sir. Proceed, Ms. Anthony.
Are you the president of the Cattle National Bank and Trust Company?
Yes.
Do you represent Cattle National Bank?
Yes, as an officer of the bank.
How long have you been the president of the Cattle National Bank and Trust?
Approximately 5 years.
Are you qualified to do your job as the president of Cattle National Bank and Trust?
I believe I am.
Is Cattle National Bank and Trust Company a national bank?
Yes.
As a national bank, is Cattle National Bank governed by the banking laws of the United States?
We are.
Do you have personal knowledge of the facts concerning the alleged Cattle National Bank loan account that is a reason for this hearing today?
To a certain extent, understanding that I was not the loan officer in charge, however.
Is Cattle National Bank required to comply with generally accepted accounting principles?
Generally speaking, we are.
But not always?
Not in all cases.
Is it possible to explain what cases you are in what situations you are not required to do that?
Nothing that would apply to this particular situation.
Okay. You attended a meeting on September 7th, 2011 in the offices of your attorney, John Guthrie. Do you recall that meeting?
I do.
At that meeting, I asked you what CN Cattle National Bank used to fund loans. What was your answer?
I do not recall.
Mr. Seaman, would you pull the mic over a little bit?
Sorry, I'll just scoot up a little bit. I do not recall.
Does Cattle National Bank use deposits to fund loans?
Yes, we do.
When Cattle National Bank does that, if you have a person who defaults on a loan, then does that put you in a position of being a guarantor of the money that was borrowed from somebody else? If you use deposit or fund, that's essentially the bank borrowing that money to loan to somebody else.
No, we are not a guarantor on that particular loan.
If deposit or funding is lost through a default, how is that money replaced?
If a loan is not collected, is that what you're asking?
Yes, sir.
If a loan is not considered collectible, it has to be charged off our books.
How is the depositor money replaced? I mean,
Through, generally speaking, through earnings of the bank.
so if depositor money is lost on a bad loan, then you do guarantee the depositor money back with money from the bank? Is that what you're saying?
Wait a minute. Let me
Okay.
have time to interject on objection. I object to the form of the question. It's not what he's testified to, and there's a disconnect between the depositor's money, meaning John Guthrie's deposit at the bank, and deposits which have come from into the bank account, its own account. And we're just not on the same track, and I want to make sure the witness understands in the form of the question. I'm objecting to the form of the question.
Objection is sustained.
If I deposit $100,000 in a Cattle National Bank savings account, does Cattle National Bank have the ability to use that money to loan out to somebody else?
Along with all other deposits, yes.
Does Cattle National Bank ask permission of depositors to use their money?
I don't understand the question.
If I put $100,000 in an account with Cattle National Bank, and then somebody in the bank is making a decision to borrow it, to loan it to somebody else, do I have the opportunity to say, yes, I would like to do that, or no, I don't want to do that? Do you ask permission?
No.
Is that required by law?
No.
Also at that meeting, I asked for a copy of your bank charter. Did you tell me that you would provide me a copy of the bank charter?
I do not recall.
Will you provide me with a copy of the bank charter?
No.
Why?
Just answer the question. It's irrelevant why he will or won't at this point. We're here. It's not an exhibit. This case hasn't been listed as an exhibit.
The objection is sustained.
Your Honor, it's my understanding that the bank charter provides the rules by which they can operate. It is key, it's relevant, it's important to this case to take a look at the bank charter to see what the bank can or cannot do. It's the corporate rules.
You are incorrect on the law. You are incorrect on your presumptions here, and you are not going to ask the question again, and he doesn't have to answer it.
Does the bank charter provide the bank with the rules by which they can operate?
We were chartered in 1873. I have not seen those specific provisions.
I asked for copies of the audits that have been done on the bank over the period of the alleged loan. Did you tell me that you would provide me with copies of the bank audits?
No.
Do you remember the reason you told me you would not provide them?
Because they are specific bank property that are not for public knowledge.
Are you restricted from providing them, or you just choose not to provide them?
Restricted on some.
And choose to on others?
Restricted on some.
I asked for copies of the general ledger accounting bookkeeping entries that were pertinent to the alleged loan. Did you tell me that you would provide the bookkeeping entries to me?
I do not recall.
Have you ever provided those bookkeeping entries to me?
No.
Does Cattle National Bank have an insurance policy that covers loss if this alleged loan is defaulted on?
No.
Your Honor, I have no further questions, but again would reserve the right to ask additional questions.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. Do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you for your testimony, sir. You're excused. Please call your next witness.
Ron Hesley.
Mr. Hesley, please come forward to the court reporter and swear or affirm that you will tell the truth. Please have a seat, sir. Good afternoon. Please state your first and last names and spell them both.
Ronald P. Hasley, Ronald P. and then Hasley, Hasley.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Anthony.
Thank you. What is your current occupation?
I am a consultant and on-call agent for the federal government.
How long have you been in the type of work that does consulting?
Approximately 8 to 10 years, maybe.
And what type of consulting work do you do?
It's mostly real estate consulting and businesses, small businesses.
So you consult for other people? is what you
Yes,
do. And help them buy and sell real estate?
sometimes.
Have you ever had a real estate license?
No.
Do you own investment properties?
Yes.
How long have you owned investment properties?
I bought my first property when I was 19, so over 35 years.
Commercial investment properties, residential?
We own or hold commercial, residential, and agricultural properties.
Have you ever built homes?
Yes.
How long did you do that?
I either built or assisted in building for approximately 30 years.
Were you a contractor?
I was a general contractor, and I did work also for a general contractor.
You indicated that you worked for the federal government.
Yes.
Could you describe what you do?
I am an on-call agent for the SBA. I'm an investigator for them, and I do mainly disaster work.
For what agency?
SBA,
What
Small
is that?
Business Association.
And have you done any kind of work in which you are taking a look at real estate documents, analyzing transactions in any way? Has that been a part of the work you've done for the SBA?
SBA is document analysis and on-site inspections.
Are you qualified to analyze documents used to purchase real estate and complete those transactions?
I believe I am.
Did you attend a meeting on September 7th, 2011 in a conference room in the law offices of John Guthrie in Lincoln, Nebraska?
Yes.
Can we pull up the affidavit that would be, that's it, thank you.
What number?
In paragraph 3 of your affidavit that's up on the screen, you noted that I was there along with Mr. Ryan Seaman, the president of Cattle National Bank, and John Guthrie, the attorney for Cattle National Bank. Is this correct?
Yes.
In paragraph 4, you said the discussions at this meeting were about an alleged loan to myself and that I requested several documents from Ryan Seaman. Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you familiar with this case and the basic circumstances of this alleged loan from Cattle National Bank to Anthony?
I'm sorry.
Are you familiar with this case and the basic circumstances of this alleged loan from Cattle National Bank to myself?
Yeah, I'm somewhat familiar with this case.
In paragraph 4 and in paragraph 5, you indicated that I had asked Ryan Seaman for loan papers, the bank charter, bank audits, and for general ledger accounting entries in regard to the alleged loan. Is this correct?
Yes.
Do you recall what Ryan Seaman said when I asked him for the charter?
I believe he said that was irrelevant.
Do you recall what Ryan Seaman said when I asked him for copies of bank audits that had been done during the term of the alleged loan?
I'm not sure exactly what he, or I don't recall exactly what he said, but it's basically that you couldn't have them. I believe the word was privileged.
Okay. Do you recall what Ryan Seaman said when I asked him for copies of the general ledger accounting entries that related to the alleged loan?
I believe he agreed to allow those to you.
Do you recall me repeating my request at the conclusion of the meeting when we were wrapping things up?
Yeah.
Did he?
Yes.
Did he confirm that he would provide those accounting bookkeeping entries to be delivered by mail in the next day or two?
Yeah, that was my understanding.
Did it seem as though Mr. Guthrie agreed with Ryan Seaman's commitment to provide those documents?
Specifically, which documents?
The general accounting bookkeeping entries, general ledger accounting entries.
Yeah, I think the agreement was that you could have those.
Did Mr. Guthrie raise any objections to providing those bookkeeping entries?
I don't believe so.
If you would go back to Claim 6. This is Form B10, which is the first page of the proof of claim document that was submitted by Cattle National Bank. If you go down to block number 2, where it's titled Basis for Claim, and what it says in there is the Cattle National Bank basis for claim is money loaned. You have participated in real estate transactions for many years. What would you define as money?
Well, money is really an abstract term. You can't have money. Money is like furniture. If I were to ask you to give me furniture, you know, everybody in here would probably give me something different. There are certain things that can be used as money, but I don't believe that you could give me a money. So you need to be specific in what you're asking. Money here, it could be, you know, dollar bills. It could be, you know, Susan B. Anthony's. It could be, you know, anything. Anything could be used as money.
If you were looking at this document with the amount of money that's in paragraph 1, $266,329.83, along with the paragraph 2, money loaned, what would you think had transpired by looking at that document?
A loan for $266,329.83. You know, I would like to see it say U.S. dollars or be more specific on what it is, but it's 266,000 something.
Pages numbered 7 through 19 contain alleged loan documents that purportedly support the claim of Cattle National Bank against Anthony. Have you had the opportunity to view these documents?
I believe I've reviewed those documents, yes.
Are any of these documents true and correct copies?
I would object to lack of foundation. I don't know how Mr. would know that.
Sustained.
Do any of these documents contain original signatures of anyone?
These are not original documents, and I was not privileged to look at original documents, so I wouldn't know.
If you take a look at page 7, It's called a note that says it's a universal note. It doesn't have a title on it, but it's called a universal note down at the bottom left-hand kind. It looks like it's a standardized form.
Yes.
Does this look to you like a specialized form created and used by Cattle National Bank for real estate loans?
I have not obtained any loan from Cattle National Bank, so I would not know what their form looked like.
Does it look like a form that specifically is for real estate loans?
I guess you'd have to define real estate. Are you talking a home mortgage loan, a commercial loan?
Home mortgage loan.
That objection is not relevant.
Objection is sustained.
Your Honor, one of the major parts of the issues with this is the disclosure. Real estate forms have disclosures on them. This is not particular to a real estate document.
So you're telling me the law again? All the real estate forms have disclosures on it?
There are real estate forms that are created that do have disclosures.
There may well be. But this gentleman doesn't have the foundation to testify concerning this document. And he's not an expert witness, and we're not going to get into expert testimony.
Is there anything on this pre-printed form that refers to any aspect of a real estate transaction?
At the bottom, it does reference a deed of trust dated on 6/27/05.
Does that look like it's part of the form, or does that look like it's typed in afterwards?
Looks like it was typed in afterwards.
Do you see the words promissory note anywhere on this page?
When I reviewed this document, I didn't see that.
Does this particular document here look like it is a document to loan money to an individual, or does it look like a credit agreement?
Objection foundation.
Sustained.
Would you talk in some general terms about these documents, pages 7 to 19, about the disclosures and about anything else you noticed as far as your ability to analyze documents?
I'm going to ask as a question, will he? Is that just a yes or no question?
It should be a yes or no.
I'm sorry.
The question is, will you do something? Like discuss the note. You can say yes or no to that.
Yes.
Will you provide me in the court with your observations, your professional opinion on the disclosure issue in these documents?
I'm going to object to lack of foundation, lack of relevance, and not competent to testify as an expert.
Sustained on all 3 points.
Pardon?
Sustained. He cannot testify to that. He's not an expert.
Have you done work analyzing documents that are similar to this?
Yeah. Not this particular document. This is a unique document to Cattle National Bank.
Mm-hmm. Have you done work analyzing real estate documents?
Yes.
For how many years?
I've done my own real estate documents when I was 19.
And you are now in a consulting capacity helping other people consummate real estate transactions?
Yes.
Are you able to take a look at real estate documents and see problems with them?
Yes.
Would you describe any of the any problems that you see with these documents?
I object to lack of foundation, not relevant, and not showing of competence to testify as an expert.
Sustained.
If you take a look at page 7 of this document down at the bottom, there's a line after purpose over on the right-hand side.
Yes.
After that, it says build spec home at 4930 Thomas Brook Lane, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yes.
You were a builder, is that correct?
I used to be, yes.
Would you explain what that means when somebody says build spec home?
Objection, lack of foundation, not relevant what his understanding of it is.
Overruled. You may answer. You may answer.
A spec home is a speculative home that either a GC, general contractor, or developer would build with the anticipation of selling at a profit.
Does this appear to be the transaction for a speculative builder?
Objection, lack of foundation calls for speculation, not relevant from his standpoint.
Sustained.
Is there anything about me that you recognize as being a speculative builder?
I'm going to object to the lack of foundation and the form of the question. I don't know what you mean recognized by her, how tall she is, or what she knows about her, and I don't know what the foundation is for that conclusion.
Sustained.
Do you have any reason to believe I've ever been a builder? Do you have any reason to believe I have ever been a builder?
No.
Do you have any reason to believe or knowledge about any investment properties I've ever owned?
No.
Since you are a builder, do you believe that I've shown any indication that I have the ability to be a speculative builder?
No, you don't appear to be a developer or a builder.
Would you please turn to page 16 of 19? That deed of trust, this is a deed of trust. There's 2 properties listed under the paragraph for conveyance.
Yes.
What is normally supposed to happen if one of those properties is sold?
Please speak into the microphone.
I'm sorry. What is supposed to happen if one of those properties is sold?
Usually there should be a deed of reconveyance or a release of mortgage if there's a mortgage against them.
If the property's been sold, why would a deed of trust not be rewritten? What possible benefits would there be to the bank?
I'm going to object to the form of the question. It calls for speculation. It's not clear to me what she's talking about.
Sustained.
What are benefits to the bank if 2 properties are listed when there's only 1 property available for repossession?
It would, I suppose that if they were paid off and the bank still had them on the books, it would make the books look better. But generally those are released with a deed of reconveyance.
Have you seen the home at 4930 Thomas Brook Lane?
Yes, I have.
As far as the real estate market right now, what is your perception of how the real estate market is doing right now?
In Lincoln, Nebraska?
Yes, sir.
Well, Lincoln's market is relatively strong right now. Well, I don't want to say strong. It's better than, say, Detroit or anywhere else. My conversations with the realtors here in Lincoln is that we have a little pop in the market here in the springtime, and they seem to be moving some properties. Lincoln is a large enough city where, say, a small town would struggle to sell some properties. Lincoln seems to be doing okay compared to the rest of the nation.
Do you know a real estate agent with Wood Brothers by the name of Rob Predmore?
I do.
What is your professional opinion of his real estate career, his success at selling real estate?
I think objective, not relevant, lack of foundation.
Overruled. You may answer.
Mr. Predmore is one of the most professional real estate agents, him and his wife, that I've known in all the years of business here in the Midwest. He is one of the top agents for Woods Brothers. Last I knew, like 6 years running, he was the top selling agent for Woods Brothers. So he is, you know, very good at his job.
Have you had any discussions with him about a market analysis done on my home?
I have.
And with your opinion combined with his market analysis, where do you think the value of the home is at the current time in the real estate market?
I'm going to object to that as calling for a conclusion of lack of foundation and for hearsay mixed in with some information he supposedly obtained from some other person.
Objection is sustained.
What is your professional opinion on the current value of the home at 4930 Thomas Burke?
I'm going to object to that as calling for conclusion of expert testimony. The man's testified he's not a licensed appraiser, he's not a licensed real estate person, and there just is going to be shouldn't testify as an expert on these facts.
Sustained.
Your Honor, I'm just asking for his opinion. He has been a builder and a contractor for many, many years. He has built homes in Lincoln.
Well, when you want to ask things like that, then you have to have an expert, and you don't. So you cannot ask it. He cannot answer.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. Do you have any questions, Mr.
Yeah,
Gill?
just a couple, Your Honor. Mr. Hasley, your meeting in my office was on September 7th, I think, of 2011, correct? Is that do you remember the date, September 7th, 2011, for the meeting in my office?
Yeah, I remember the meeting in your office.
Okay. Did you receive or see a copy from Ms. Anthony of the letter I sent on that same day, sending her the loan history summary, the promissory note, and the deed of trust? Did she share that with you?
I believe there were some documents I looked at. I don't know about the loan history. I don't know if I recall that.
So she may not have shown you the copy of my letter that showed the loan history was sent to her on the same day that you were in my office.
Say that again.
Well, you don't recall her ever showing you that document?
Which document?
The loan history that I sent to her on September 7th, 2011.
No, I don't believe so.
So she only gave you some documents to look at.
She gave me some documents to look at.
And
I
that
have
was
no idea if that was all the documents or whether they're just part of the documents.
You were talking about the speculation or spec home, and you mentioned the spec homes are done by developers or contractors. Is it you telling me that an individual, can't decide to build a spec home to try and sell and make a profit unless he's a builder or a contractor?
No, in general terms, it's mostly builders and contractors.
So an individual could be a speculative home builder, couldn't they?
Yes.
Okay. And on the document, you mentioned an exhibit on that was, I think, proof of claim number 6 you were looking at. And I think it's page 7 of 19. You stroll down to the bottom of that for the signature line. Do you see that in front of you, sir?
See the what?
Do you have that in front of you on the screen?
Yes.
This reference to spec home, that's about an inch below Karen J. Anthony's signature, or above, I should say.
Yeah, it says build spec home.
And then about an inch below that, the signature of the Ms. Anthony.
It appears to be.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Do you have anything further of this witness? Thank you, sir. You are excused. you have any additional witnesses?
I'd just like to call Brian LaBelle back for a short break.
You may. Mr. LaBelle, please retake the stand. You're still under oath.
Claim number 6, page 18, I think. Go back. Back one more. Thank you, and scroll down a little bit. On this document, down under the paragraph 2, there are 2 properties listed under the paragraph for conveyance.
Yes.
Why are 2 properties listed under that paragraph?
Well, the first property, parcel 1, is the house located at 4930 Thomas Brook Lane. We used that for collateral to build the house. We also put a deed of trust on the house at 7400 Glen Oaks, so that's parcel 2. We put a second. There was a first on that, I believe it was with USAA. But we put a second on that house as well, and that basically there was a fair amount of equity in that property, so we were using that house for additional collateral to fund the loan. So that's why both of those parcels are listed there.
Have either of those properties been sold?
Yes, parcel 2 has been sold.
And was that property released?
Yes, it was.
How was it released?
Via deed of reconveyance.
Do you issue a new deed of trust?
No, we don't.
Why does this continue to reflect a second parcel on it?
Well, you don't take it off the original deed of trust. The mechanism that you use is to file a deed of reconveyance. That's filed at the Lancaster County Register of Deeds, and that is what that's the appropriate way of releasing properties.
And is it released on that address or released on mine since?
It's released on 7400 Glen Oaks. Parcel 2 has been released.
On that address is where it's filed?
Yes.
And
it's filed on that legal description.
And you don't normally send any notification to me that that would have been reconveyed?
No.
Regarding the loan history summary, is the loan history summary, in your opinion, the same thing as the general ledger accounting and entries for the bank?
At the general ledger, no. The loan history summary is a subset, basically, of the general ledger. It specifically reflects an individual's loan.
Right. So entries from the general ledger are pulled for one specific account. I'm sorry, that's not meant to be a trick question.
No, I was just trying to explain. On every transaction, you have a debit and a credit.
Right.
So, depending on what that transaction is, it has to go eventually to some sort of an account within the bank.
Right.
So,
but the loan history summary, they are not the general ledger bookkeeping entries for this account.
I'm not sure you can say it that way. So that's the individual loan is there's different entries within the bank. So that particular account, depending on how I view a general ledger, and the general ledger to me is more of a summary, and then you have specific accounts within those general ledgers.
But the general ledger accounting entries would show what the source of funds for any particular loan
on this
was.
particular loan, yes.
I mean,
it would show, yes.
It's outgoing on one account, incoming on another account. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so
Yes.
that's not a part of the loan history summary. Is that correct?
There are the loan history summary is showing either a debit or a credit specific to that particular account, depending on whether it was a principal advance, which would be a debit, or if it's a payment, that would be a credit.
But it doesn't show where that money comes from, where those funds come from. It doesn't show
the
where
the corresponding debit or credit would show.
In the loan history summary, does it show which depositor funds that loan comes out of? It comes out of Fred's account, comes out of George's account?
It comes out of depending on what the transaction is, in this particular case, it would come out of cash or in or out of the cash account of the bank.
And deposits are then just put in one big account that's called cash?
It depends. Depends on what the transaction is.
So then if I have an account that's open with Cattle National Bank, it's likely that my money is going to be loaned out to somebody else and I don't even know about it.
Depends on what the bank decides. I mean, the bank uses the cash funds to loan out. They use it to buy securities. There's multiple things that they can do with it. Loans are a piece of what bank does.
So if I deposit money in the account, I just assume that the bank can do what it thinks is appropriate with my money.
I don't know on that.
Thank you, that's all.
Any questions, Mr. Guthrie?
Regarding the deed of reconveyance, could we pull up exhibit or filing number 160, please? Filing 160. Mr. Lavelle, looking at filing number 160, partial deed of reconveyance, is that what you were referring to as being filed to release or discharge a particular piece of property related to a deed of trust?
Yes, it is.
And when it's partial, that means there might have been more than one piece of property and one was released?
Yeah, that's when you have partial on the top. Yes, that's correct.
The debtors made inquiry about loaning the depositor's money, and if she inquired as to whether if she had a $100,000 account and you wanted to make a loan to me, would you take it out of her account so that she has no money now in her account? That's not how it operates,
No,
is it?
it's not.
The deposit becomes an asset by the depositor giving it to the bank, correct?
Correct.
And there's an obligation of the bank to refund or pay that deposit when it's drawn upon by the customer.
That is correct.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Anything further? Thank you, sir. You're
Thank you.
excused. Do you have any additional witnesses?
No, sir.
Thank you. Do you have any other evidence?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Well, I heard the final arguments the last time, the preliminary hearing, and I have noted that you both filed briefs with regard to this matter, and Mr. Guthrie, I approved your request for filing a reply brief earlier today.
Thank you. It was attached, but I'll file it as soon as
Yes.
it's
So I'll take the matter under advisement. You'll hear from me shortly. Please recess the court.
Please rise.